Okay, Mr. Bowles is on.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi, can you hear us okay?
I sure can.
Okay, perfect. All right. Hey, it is. Are we ready to go, Chris?
Yes.
Did we hear the whistle?
It's always not the right time
It
anyway,
isn't.
so
Okay,
whatever.
so we are going to call the meeting to order, the EDA meeting, November 29th, 2023 at 6 o'clock. And the EDA minutes from October 25th they were not available at this time, so we'll bring them on to the next meeting. Okay. Kaylin, you're up. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, EDA board. I had handed out the EDA coordinators report. It should have been kind of where everybody was sitting tonight. We have a couple things to go over together. The first one is the League of Minnesota Cities Grant Navigator Program. So I mentioned this at the last meeting. We will be applying for $5,000 from the League of Minnesota Cities to pay for a grant writer to help us submit an application to the DNR's Outdoor Recreation Grant Program to implement our Cranston Heights Park Plan. So council will need to adopt a resolution. I put a copy of the resolution in everybody's packets, but this will actually come forward in front of City Council next month for signatures, and then we'll get that application submitted to the league. The Outdoor Recreation Grant opens in December and is due in March, so I'm assuming we'll probably receive the funds sometime either at the very end of December or early January, so we'll still have 3 months to submit that grant application. The next item is the Parks and Recreation Commission. I had included the draft bylaws in the packets again. I know we've seen these a couple of times. The only change in those was I removed the requirement for one council member to serve on the commission and just made it 5 members of the general public. They were still under review with the city attorney, so I reached out to Bob today, and he actually got back to me this afternoon. Bob, I don't know if you wanted to address the EDA board or if you want me to try to summarize your email. I think you might have more information than I do.
Yeah, President and Kaylin, thanks. Yeah, and I apologize. Kaylin has asked me to get on the shtick about that for a little while, and so the ball's been in my court, not hers. Delay is mine, not hers. The bylaws look good. As I explained in a sort of long email to her today, Mayor, President, you got a copy as well. The bylaws look good. Bylaws, though, of course, just govern how a board or how a commission will operate. It says, what you need for a quorum and what voting requirements there are and who can serve on it, and, operational, administrative things about a board. It doesn't actually form the board. It doesn't establish the board. The way your city establishes boards based on your city code and the various ordinances that I've seen, the way you do it is the way most cities do it. You do it by ordinance. You adopt an ordinance that says you're creating a new commission, and it says typically what the commission is going to do. Is it going to be advisory? Or is it going to have other authorities? What's the budget? Stuff like that. That's done by ordinance. And what I said to Kaylin is that, and I don't want to totally duck and cover because there may be time pressure here. And if that's the case, then I guess I should know about that. But the fact is that your city code, and I've described this in the past, your city code is a little bit disorganized currently. It needs to be tightened up, let's say. And we also need to get all the various loose ordinances, separate ordinances, put into that code eventually. And I'm just a little uncomfortable with trying to figure out exactly how to write a new code section that establishes this park commission when you currently already have 2 different sections in your code that deal with commissions. They create various commissions. They're in 2 opposite ends of the code book. They are written differently. One section deals with your police department, which of course doesn't really exist at this point. It also deals with your planning commission, which as I understand it, I don't think you operate with a planning commission currently. So it seems like those code sections are a bit outdated. in need of update. And then the last code section that deals with commissions establishes the gas commission. I don't know why that would be in a separate part of your code. So enough complaining from me. This is another example where I think we need to sort of get everything in line about what the city's laws are. And so I was just a little uncomfortable with trying to spend time drafting a new section of a code that I know needs some work. I'm willing and happy to do that if there is any time pressure, but I'm just not sure that creating your Parks Commission is the highest priority. I mean, frankly, I've been sitting on, I had drafted a new zoning and subdivision ordinance for you. I've gotten feedback now from the mayor and a council member, or maybe a council member or two, and I have to go through that still, and that seems like, I think we decided that was kind of the highest priority thing to get updated. So I just don't want to mess with priority things. But, Caitlin, if there's a reason, for example, this grant that you just described, if we have to have a Parks Commission ASAP, I guess we can do that and just understand that the ordinance to do that, which we can adopt at the next council meeting, understand that the ordinance to do that is going to need to be moved or incorporated into the code at some point in the future and be part of the general cleanup of the city's laws. So that's me blathering on about my complaints about sort of how are we going to get this all tied up in a neat bow. I prefer to do that all at once, but if we need to get the Parks Commission in place now, I'm happy to do that. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Bob. I don't think there is any pressure to create the commission. I think the intention was to kind of be more focused in some of the Parks and Recreation conversations we've had. But in terms of the grant, moving forward with that, I think as long as council's comfortable providing the direction, we can just run that through council for now. And I know we also mentioned working with the flower committee, so maybe providing support to them, and then delaying this until we're ready. So I don't think there is time pressure as long as council is comfortable, still having Parks and Recreation kind of under their purview more directly.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah. Sure.
Perfect.
I think so.
Awesome. Then we will revisit this when the codes and ordinances get sorted out. The next thing on the agenda is the 2024 CEDA contract. I know I presented this at last month's meeting, and it was at that point tabled for further discussion. I don't believe this was on the work meeting agenda, so it wasn't discussed. I wasn't sure if we wanted to put it on next month's work meeting agenda and then have the final contract presented at the regular meeting in December, or the EDA board wanted to take action tonight.
I'll move it to the work meeting. We can look it over.
Okay.
And then it can go on the December agenda.
Perfect.
For approval.
Perfect. I will put that down as an action item for December. And then the updates, I still haven't heard back on any additional park plan grant applications, but I will continue to keep the EDA board updated on that and continue to seek other funding avenues in case something else comes up that we can apply for, but hoping to get that secured over the next month or two so we can move forward with getting that park plan finished. And then just my office days for December. Any questions?
Do you have anything for Kaylin? No. I would just like to thank Kaylin. She's been helping out quite a bit in the office and has been very helpful, and she's been taking minutes, as you'll see, and kind of giving us some guidelines. So we certainly appreciate what you're doing at this time as we're kind of navigating everything. So thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn the EDA meeting?
So move.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we'll call the regular council meeting to order, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first, we need to approve or amend the agenda. I would like to add under other, we have a special assessment that we need to add to that for approval. And then also, I would like to request a special meeting for this week. We'll talk about a date, what dates work for everybody. Does anybody else have anything else that needs to be added to that or would like to discuss?
You said a special assessment?
Yes.
So J is just gonna be a special assessment?
Yeah, and then setting a special meeting.
So are we adding K?
They're
Special
both
meeting?
just gonna go under other. Anything else, council? Okay, so could I get a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The minutes from October 25th council meeting and the November 8th work meeting are included in your packets. So if you wanted to look those over.
So they're both dated November 8th. So is the shorter one?
One is for the special meeting, and then one is for the work meeting, since it was two separate meetings.
Okay, okay.
Oh, and I apologize. 1025 was unavailable. That was our
Okay,
last-
okay, that's how that, okay.
Yeah.
There we go. That's
11/8
right.
Special. So that one was
Wonder.
unavailable.
Okay. Oh, yes. That looks good.
A motion to approve the meeting minutes for 11/8, since we don't have 11 or 10/25.
Correct. Did I get a second?
I'll say.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried to approve the meeting minutes of 11/8. Any old business? Anything? Anything, council? Okay, we'll move on to new business. New hires for fire department. Travis, Derek? You wanna step up?
Alright, for those that don't know me, I'm Derek Weckerling. I'm the chief of the fire department.
Travis Stompard, Assistant Chief, Fire Department.
I guess, the reason we're here tonight, we are looking at bringing on possibility of 4 new members, to bring our numbers up to 30. And the reason we're here is because when we are, on call or anything, we are technically city employees. So, even though we're governed by the truck association, we are city employees, so we fall under the workman's comp. We fall under all that as employees. What we're looking at, and I've done some homework, I found out by state statute, we have to be doing background checks before we actually bring these people on. We have never done that in the past, and going forward, we're trying to get with the times. I have checked. I first checked with the sheriff's department. They sent me to the BCA. I got the information needed through there, but I'm going to have to work through you guys since you will be the hiring, I mean, it'll be ran through you guys because we're the employees. That's the way I understand it. I did a lot of research trying to figure this stuff out, and there's a lot of gray areas that, haven't been ironed out. The other thing is we have never, I shouldn't say never, there was a short time we had a physical ability test to get into the fire department. It didn't work out. It was a very expensive, long process in another state. We actually lost some pretty good candidates, I feel, due to that. We're looking at still, we want to bring something like that back, not only to make sure they can do the job, but also to cover the city of any liabilities. If they can't do the job, we don't want to hire somebody that can't. I checked with Mayo, their occupational med. I got some numbers on doing the physical ability test through there. Most employers, if you have any physical work, you have to do that before you even get on. I know when I took my recent job a few years back, I had to do that just to work for a public works department. Another thing we've never done is, we've never had a pre-employment drug test. We've never done any of that stuff. That's all stuff I would like to implement so that we know we're bringing good quality candidates on our fire department that will be taking care of us and working with us. I'm just kind of looking for some direction from the council and some help. I have a lot of the information already kind of come together. I got the email from the BCA on what we need to do to fill that out. I believe there is a current application that the city has. I know a few people have already applied, but I just want to make sure that when we go into this, that there's a lot of things that have changed. I just want to make sure it's all good with you guys, lawyers, however, and we want to proceed with this very soon. We'd like to start the application process as soon as possible.
We have a few members that are getting older that have maybe tossed around the idea of wanting to retire. So, and we have some good young candidates and applications, and I think we need to move on it because that doesn't happen. Also, just to kind of cover the city, if there, maybe a potential candidate has a pre-existing condition or something that they didn't disclose
Or didn't
know about that would protect, just times have changed. Used to be everybody knew everybody if you wanted to get on, but there's going to be some applications, probably the city's growing, some newer applicants maybe that we're not all familiar with, that we should probably just look into it.
And I have done some research. We are probably one of the few towns left in the area that really don't have anything in place or do anything. So that we have a chief's our meeting every quarter, and I brought that up at our last chief's meeting, and I was kind of a little blown away how I hate to say behind the times we are, and we want to fix that, and we want to make it better so we cover ourselves from any future liability. So I guess tonight, right now, we're looking at assistance, and we want to get the ball rolling on getting these people applied. We want to do an interview process. I don't know if that's something that a council member or somebody from your guys' board needs to sit in on, or how normally it's always been just ran through the fire department, but I don't know legality-wise, since they are city employees, how involved you guys need to be. Maybe some direction from legal would help, but we want to do it right, so.
Do you have any idea, Derek, on average cost? What it costs to put a new recruit?
Well, so like for training wise, like once we get them hired, so I don't know the number off the top of my head, but right now, for the last actually, I think it's been at least 5 years, the MBFTA has, MBFTA, I believe, they've been paying for that. If you go through the process, you pass, and then you get certified, it's paid for. The city, it's been our last probably maybe up to 10 people that have taken. Cities have not had to pay for that.
Okay.
It's similar as like when we turn in our training to the city, that I'm assuming, I know through the past, I know Lori and I know Jill has worked on, that all gets submitted to the state, that all gets reimbursed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there hasn't been much cost in the last 5 to 10 years on training, because a lot of that, I would say almost over 90 to 100% of it's all reimbursed.
Okay.
So, just some rough numbers when I got a hold of a mail for what we're looking at, and looking around just under $300 for the physical fitness test. They actually have some a la carte items, like if we want to do the pre-employment drug test, which we might, I don't know if that's a requirement, I would like to see it. Just kind of, there's some other things that I don't know as, legal, if there's anything that you guys would like to see that make sure that we're, I don't know, like I said, it's kind of some new territory the way we've been doing this, but I feel it's time, and I don't want to get caught, doing something that's not right, and we pay for it, because.
Right.
So that $300 that you said roughly for Mayo, is that to train one of y'all
No.
to give it, or that's to send
So we
somebody
send,
else?
so what'll happen is whoever will make the appointment, they go in there, and it's a physical ability. You gotta lift whatever the weight, I'm just saying 60, I can't remember what it is. You gotta be able to lift it, walk with it, you gotta be able to set it up. They make sure you're physically able to do the job, There's other departments that they do it in-house. We're not manned for that, we're not capable of that. Those are departments that have their own ambulance and some paid staff, and I'm not comfortable going down that road.
Well, if this is all part of training too, you would think that if we submit the number back to the state.
Some of that is not, some of that stuff is not. It's pretty black and white on their website, what is suitable and what is not. They're very clear, and if there's any questions, they're very good about answering that. But it's primarily the training, not so much the, bringing the people on. And like Travis said, right now we have 26 guys, which is a pretty full amount, but we have a lot of guys that are, toying around the idea of, I don't know how much longer they're going to want to be on there, and it honestly, it takes more than it takes a few years to get comfortable around there,
It does. I'd like to put a few more guys on just while we have some of these guys that are talking about getting off. Those guys have a lot of experience. Jason is one of them. You get 20, 25 plus years experience. They have a lot to teach these young guys. So if we can kind of blend that together, and then we're properly staffed when those guys do decide to retire.
Yeah,
mentorship
is
huge.
It's huge
way more
at that
comfortable.
point, so.
We could do that. But I know times are changing, and we can do this. Derek's done his homework. I mean, it's gonna be $300 or more per individual, plus.
I think the background check, that was pretty, I think that was only like, that was under 100. I can't remember that without pulling up, sitting here on my phone, because there was different options. The BCA does it.
Okay.
So like I said, I went through the sheriff's department first, they sent me that way. Basically, it's a state statute, it's written that, through the fire department, it has to be done by the chief or representative of the department, and it has to be done. There's certain criteria, like if you've not lived in the state for more than 5 years, then it's a state and federal one that needs to be done, which costs a little bit more, but it's still, I believe it's under that $100 threshold. Like I said, I did get the numbers, I got the information, but I just would like some direction and help and try to do this and make sure we're doing it legally as well.
I know that you had talked about there's potential training coming up starting after the first of the year.
Yes, and that's why we're kind of pushing to get this done.
Okay, so do you have any idea when that's gonna start?
So the actual fire training, if we would bring on 4 guys and be able to find another department, we could host it, and they're pretty flexible. I've been playing phone tag with the company that we're working with. It's more of an online program. We've done this last 2 or 3 times around. It's worked out really well. They do it, it's an online platform, and then they come together and do their,
Well, last time they did
the trials,
practicals. Camp rip.
Yep. So there's different methods of way of doing it, because otherwise the traditional way, I mean, it's long, and it's hard to get, it's almost 6 months, and it's hard to get people to sign up to do that. Because when you're done with that, then we make them go through first responder training, get their EMR as well. So that's another 60 hours, and they have a year to do that. So it's a lot of initial training to get these people on board and trained up.
And who does the EMR?
We have been doing it through the road ambulance. They offer a course about once or twice a year.
Yeah, I saw, I think their next course.
They're doing one real shortly, but we won't have anybody ready for that.
So even before they get hired, we're gonna first of all have to do the background checks.
So this is what we're looking at. We would like to put the word out, we are taking applications to anybody within 6 minutes of our fire hall. Because it's not, by law, it used to be you had to live in city limits. Well, that is yet technically legal. You have to live within a certain amount of minutes.
Yeah, I think we were scolded by the League of Minnesota Cities on that a few years back and said
You can't do it by jurisdiction.
no,
It's
it has
got
to be
by
within
minutes.
distance or minutes or time. So we amended it. Now the bylaw said is it 6 minutes?
It's 6 or 7 minutes, don't quote me on it. It's 6 or 7.
Obeying all traffic laws,
Yep,
whatever,
yep.
it gets into a lot of jargon. If we have some applicants, I mean, what we'd like to do is interview them, or maybe put out a notice in the gas bill or their water, probably their water bill, and say, we're gonna open up applications till January 1 or February 1. I don't know, we're probably pushing it to get
You
there.
know, I don't think we need to leave it open for too long. I mean, a couple weeks is sufficient. If you get this out and you get it done, I mean, I think we got a lot of legwork, because I think to the best of my knowledge, our application was just gone through not that long ago and then updated. Whatever you guys have on file here was updated, I know in the last, I wonder if it was the last group that went through, or maybe, you know, so within, I would say the last 5 to 6 years, it should have been updated, whether that's.
So open the process up for a certain amount of time, maybe it's 2 weeks, whatever, and then normally the chief, assistant chief, and the 4 captains would interview them. And if we offer them a position, then they would go through the background check and the physical. And if everything goes good, then okay, here we go, we're training.
And if that's not kosher,
That's the way I'd like to.
that's the way we've done it always in the past, and it works, but we're by not all means sitting here on our, podium saying this is the way we're gonna do it.
Yeah, I guess if somebody in this room, because they're city employees, technically wants to get in on the interview process, I guess I don't have an issue with it. We've always done it with actually, they didn't even used to have an interview process.
Yeah, that we just implemented that a few years
That's
ago.
something that, yeah.
We're trying really hard to get things with the times.
Well, it sounds like you're bringing everything up to date, which I like. And sounds like you're on top of everything and you're doing a good job. Let's just keep rolling.
So are any of the current employees gonna have to go through any of this? Backgrounds, drug tests?
No, we do physicals every year.
Well, it's not idiots that they come through and do it fit for our mask.
Fit test we'll do in January.
But that's all we've ever done. I mean,
Yeah, that's
some of this stuff, we're running blind, that's a phone call I can make,
I just don't
the
wanna
fire,
start this with new people and then they're like,
well, I mean, when you implement something that started effective this date, and this is where from here on out, so we go, if that's.
I think that's why he's asking guidance.
That's why I'm looking, that's why I'm here, that's why because I don't wanna just pull stuff out of a hat. Now, I've had some guidance from, the state fire marshal's office, this is where a lot of this, about a year ago, I went to a fire chief boot camp, a 2-day course out in New Ulm, that shoved a lot of this in front of you, and this is where a lot of this is stemming from, is because I learned how much liability just myself being the chief has, on that whole department and everything with it, so I'm doing my best to, without making huge drastic changes, to try to do small steps to make sure it's done right.
And I think, what we're gonna have to do as a council too is because we've set our budget. So we've got some wiggle room with that, but we're gonna have to look at the dollars and cents too, because the workman's comp is gonna obviously go up, but we can offset that. But just, you'll have to give us some time just to go look at those numbers too, just to make sure, within the budget. I don't foresee that that's gonna be a huge
Right, I mean, I think
issue
we're
at all,
talking.
but we've got to, we'll look.
It'll be a few $1,000s by the time we're said and done. I mean, that's,
Yeah,
and that's real money, I understand. I guess just so we can kind of get the ball rolling, I know you guys have a lot on your plate and a lot going on, but if you can kind of help us along, get the process going, we'd appreciate it.
yep,
Mayor?
yes, Bob.
Yeah, just, I had mentioned previously that your code does address formation of some of your departments and some of your commissions, the fire department being one of them. I didn't, I wasn't clear about what this item was gonna be about, so I hadn't looked at it, but I looked at it as this conversation has been going on. Your code language does indicate the chief would make the appointment or appointments subject to the council ratifying that or approving that. And that's really all it says. So I think the process that your good firefighter folks have laid out, putting out a notice and doing some background checking, which is required by law, and then making a recommendation to the council about who to hire, that all makes sense. That's all pretty typical. I guess to your point, Mayor, about the budget, I guess I would normally anticipate that the council would say what number of firefighters you're looking to add, whether it's a net number of retirements that are coming up, or whether it's this number today. It'd be hard, I think, for the chief to come forward with, let's say, 5 recommended hires and have the council say we only want to hire 2 or something like that. So maybe that would be some of the direction that the department would find useful before going through the exercise of identifying folks.
Okay,
So the number is 4.
it's 4. Okay.
Yeah, we have 26 currently in our bylaws, say 30 max, so.
Yeah.
We'd like to go for all 4.
Yep.
If we have 4 qualified candidates, we want to go for 4.
I don't think that's unreasonable at all. We've got to keep that.
And when you have people that are interested in joining, you want to get.
I've had people really chomping. That's why we've been kind of trying to get this together the last almost 2 months, and finally we're able to all come together. So.
Well, I say run with it and post it and.
Yeah, get it
Get
going.
you out of
And
here,
then
go.
we'll work with you, and we'll be in communication with set up.
Who's gonna be, should be the lead person that we are communicating through, just because there's nobody in the office, or how do you want us to approach this?
Jason, would you be interested in doing that?
Sure, I'm take care of the
Could
department.
we take care of a notice, just make up a notice, and somebody here would see to it that it got sent out with the gas bill or something like that, say, hey, we're gonna open this up for 2 weeks, or by, January.
Do you know when does the billing go out?
Next week.
Next week.
Would it be too soon if we hurried up and got something together?
I don't think so. We've got one other, otherwise it wouldn't go out until,
January.
It's gonna be.
yeah.
I think you could get it the next couple days.
If you could get
Email it
something,
to me and I can write it.
Okay.
yep, we could get it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's just a real small, just, taking applications and
Would you put it on?
we'll post it on our social media and try to, I don't know, I suppose we should probably post something in the paper.
We can post it on the website too, on
Okay.
the Facebook page for the city. So let's, once you get something typed up, let's kind of put
Prove it,
together,
obviously, yep.
and then we'll get it out there, I
Okay.
think.
Cause I just wanna make sure we're covering not only our city limits, but that 6
That
minute
territory,
response
yeah.
time.
We can get it in the paper too as well. Yeah, I think that would be.
Yep. Okay. That's all we have for tonight, unless you guys have anything else.
Okay. Bob, do we need to make a motion to go ahead with 4 and grant their request, or is that, we can just go with what we have here?
Yeah, no, Mayor and Council, I think if you're comfortable with that recommended, let's get up to the top, the 30. That direction can be given. Ultimately, you'll have to approve any hires that get made, so it'll be back in front of you at that time. So, yeah, I don't think that, we don't know how many you're gonna get, whether you're gonna get all 4 filled or less than 4, or how that's gonna work, so. I think you need
We
to
can
take.
certainly come back at that point and say, here's our recommendations, and will you approve them? We'll move fairly quickly on this, because we got training coming up, and we'd like to get these guys enrolled in the training coming up here soon. I believe it starts in January, you said?
Yep, they have a program, and worst case scenario, if we don't get them enrolled in the fire program right away, I know our bylaws say we want to do fire first, but maybe we can get them in the EMR thing first, whatever it,
Yep.
we're gonna work really hard to get these people trained as quick as they can, so.
Okay, okay, yeah, just be in touch.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you
Yeah,
guys.
thanks, guys.
Okay, next on the agenda is the resolution, for the sale of pull tabs by the Goodhue Lions Club. This is kind of standard procedure. They've done this in the past. For December 9th. Anybody have issues with that?
What's December 9th?
It's our Christmas party.
Oh, okay, right.
I have to go look through the resolutions. I haven't got a number assigned to it. I'm trying to figure out the number. Bob, I have a question for you on this resolution. I was looking through the past resolutions, and I can't come up with an in-order number. Can I assign a number to it? They seem to be rather random in the resolution book.
Yeah, Mayor, I don't know what system you've used in the past either. I'll just tell you the typical way that I see is it would be resolution 23 or 2023 dash, and then whatever resolution it is this year. So each year, is identified by resolution number 23 dash, and then in order for that given year. So that's the typical approach.
Okay, all right. So I'll look in that book and see if I can find that, but it doesn't seem to be that way with the 23, so.
We'll have to start it
Okay.
that way.
So we'll start
That
it.
makes sense.
We'll start it.
Yep.
23-1? I don't know. Okay, so could I get a motion to accept the resolution?
I'll motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is the resolution declaring the squad cars as surplus and authorizing the sale to Guardian. Pardon me.
Do you know who made that motion, second that motion?
It'll,
Jason made it.
Jason made it.
Second it, yeah.
okay, and Joe.
Because I have a form that wants it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
4. Okay. The next one is Bob came up and helped us with this resolution. Thank you, Bob, for the sale of the surplus. Jason talked to Guardian, and they are willing to purchase the vehicles, the 2018 Ford Explorer, for $14,000, correct, Jason? Okay, and then the 2012 Chevy Impala was $4,000, correct?
Right.
Yes.
The quotes are,
Yeah.
yeah, the quotes are in here, yeah.
Okay, and so they will come and pick them up as soon as, the resolution goes through. Pretty standard procedure on that.
There you go.
Did I get a motion to accept the resolution declaring the squad car as surplus and authorizing the sale to Guardian?
I so move.
My second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next in your packet is the approval to sell a Panasonic Tough Book to Goodhue County Sheriff's Office. This is a second one. They already have it in their possession. We sold the first one,
That's it.
but they have a second one, so they're giving us the same amount of money for the second one. And we had already voted to sell the equipment as surplus, so this is just the purchase agreement. The other purchase agreements we signed last month, they already have those. So I just needed this new one on this new Tough Book. So I just need a motion to approve the sale of the Panasonic Tough Book to Goodhue County Sheriff's Office.
Also moved.
So if we choose to get a police department again, wouldn't we need these?
Well, these would be outdated.
They'll all
be
be all outdated. So that's why.
How old are they?
By the time we got a police department back in force, it could be, a number of years by the time you do all the background checks and the training. And I would say if we have an opportunity to move this stuff before it's outdated, we should, but.
I mean, that's why they're willing to take it off of our hands,
For $1.
but they're giving us credit for $150.
Right.
So this works on the same premise, they're giving us the dollar value credited towards our,
So the first one, they gave us $150 credit for.
yep,
And then this one, they're giving us $150 credit.
yes.
So where does it say $150 credit on this one?
This is just the purchase agreement, but it's on their form. I asked them specifically about that.
So the two chrome, or the two tough books and the
Car,
but there was that other, what was the other thing in
that
there?
was a radio.
The radio,
all
so
of those
the
are
radio, the
credit.
two tough books, that should be $450
Mhm. So,
in addition to the car,
right,
which was,
yeah. Because I had spoken to Christine Holes, she takes care of this.
because I guess I was only under the assumption that we had the car, the one computer, and the radio. That was a part of that original.
Right, and now this is
the new one.
this is the other one, that they have taken all of the information off of it. So they had to take those to the Goodhue County Sheriff's Department and download all of that information. So then they called back and said, would you be willing to part with this one as well? It's the second one.
Well, second.
Okay. So, who made the first motion on that, Joe? Chris, you seconded?
Yep.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, approval to accept the 2024 contract with Red Wing Computers. That is Chris. I apologize, it's not in here. We had it at our work meeting and discussed it. And, I said it would be on the action item.
Right.
So we just need to get that done. It also is, I talked to Chris about it, it is, it's an automatic payment, so that'll come out in January.
Okay.
So we just need to get that approved.
Well, I'll make a motion that we go with the contract, the 24 contract with them.
Okay? Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, F, appoint an interim city clerk in Jill's absence. So we have to have somebody who is also signing things like this resolution. Now, there were a couple things that needed to be signed, and Patrice did them as deputy mayor. But in my conversation with Attorney Bose, we have to have somebody other than a council member. So I did visit with Kyle yesterday, and talked to him and asked him if he would be interested and okay with that. He seems to be the most logical person here because he's in the office. He knows the systems. He's helping us tremendously. He made it very clear that I'm not the interim clerk. I said it's merely, correct me if I'm wrong, attorney, that it's for signing purposes. That's what he's really concerned about, Kyle. And it is for signing documents and such. Correct? Until we can get somebody in that position, if need be.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, in addition to the fact that auditors, financial auditors will always want organizations like ours to have a segregation, a separation between council members signing checks and then non-council members. They'll want to have one of each sign checks just from an accounting standpoint, a sort of oversight standpoint, rather than having two council members or two staff people do it. In addition to that, there are some instruments, some documents that by statute have to be signed by the mayor and a clerk or an interim clerk. Real estate documents, for example, must be signed by someone who has the title interim clerk or clerk in order to be recordable. So yes, for a couple of reasons, it's important that somebody be the interim clerk for purposes of signing things. I get Kyle's point about being worried about not being responsible for all the other things clerks are responsible for. And I think the understanding can just be that he's doing it to sign stuff. He wouldn't be responsible for maintaining all the books and records of the city, which is the basic clerk duty. And I think we would all understand that.
Does anybody have any questions on that?
I think that makes sense.
So could I get a motion to appoint Kyle McCune as interim city clerk in Jill's absence?
Motion.
So,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next on the list is the J.C.'s liquor license for the Christmas festival. It is not, the application form was filled out and I did not make copies for it. It's that standard gambling liquor license. It was dated and approved for October 25th. For some reason, it was missed at that point. That's the date that is on there. So we need to approve it. They are asking to serve beer and mulled wine at the Christmas festival from the hours of 11 to 3 on Saturday. The same as last year, correct. So we just need a motion that we can go ahead with that.
Yeah, all motion, that's the same as last year, so.
Okay.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, Bob, do you want to address again, just briefly, the 3M lawsuit? We haven't
Sure.
officially voted on it to opt out or stay in, so we need to do that. Just to talk about
Yeah.
it.
Sure. Basically, some government entities around the country, not particularly in Minnesota, but in other places, sued the makers of what are called forever chemicals. I can't even say the full chemical name, but fluoro blah, 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 blah. And they're chemicals that can get in humans and cause potentially problems for humans in sufficient doses. And so lawsuits were started around the country. They were joined together in what is basically a class action lawsuit. And it's not literally a class action lawsuit, but only a lawyer would care about the distinction. It's basically a class action lawsuit. And all cities that have public water supplies that have certain indicators that there might be this PFAS, that's the cute little acronym that people are using for these forever chemicals. Any public water supply controller, owner that has indicators that there might be PFAS in their water supply are necessarily included as litigants in this class action, and they have the right to opt out. So the question before you is whether you want to stay in the class action lawsuit, be part of a settlement that 3M and another maker of PFAS have entered into. It's about $14 billion, so it's a lot of money. It goes to a lot of governments around the country, but it's still a lot of money. Do you want to stay in that or do you want to opt out? The only reason you would opt out is if you wanted to join with what you would hope would be a few other cities around Minnesota that would independently sue 3M and other makers of PFAS. My judgment is that's never going to happen. Your city is never going to opt to sue 3M and other makers of PFAS. That litigation would be extraordinarily expensive. You can imagine, it would be like the equivalent of the tobacco litigation of 10 years ago that was, millions of dollars in legal fees in every case. So I think it's highly unlikely that you would ever sue 3M and other companies independently, and so I think you probably are going to decide and ought to decide to stay in the settlement. You will get something out of the settlement. I guess I have heard there is no reason to believe that you actually have PFAS in your water supply at any meaningful level, at any level that would be of concern. but you'll still be able to be in the settlement and still get something out of the settlement. I don't know what, there's a formula for calculating that. It's quite hard to run that without actually going into an online calculator. So I don't know how much money we're talking about, but you'll get something out of it. And all of our other clients, 40 plus cities that are in the same situation, allowed to be in this settlement, all of them are opting to stay in, not opting out, for the reason I just said. Independently suing and pursuing litigation is just so expensive and difficult that it's not going to happen. So that's the summary, Mayor.
Okay, so we're actively included in the lawsuit. The only way we would have to make a motion is if we wanted to opt out, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
So we don't have to take an action on that unless we're going to.
No, the one thing I would say is it would be useful to give direction, I think it's probably Jason, it's Public Works, just to make sure that we file, that he stays on top of the deadline for filing your claim. You actually have to file something, send something into the court saying, we want to get our settlement amount. And so having somebody that stays on top of that, it's not practical for me to do that given the number of cities I'm working with. So if you can just direct Jason to stay on top of that to make sure that we file that claim form in time, that would be the only action you might want to take.
And Jason and I met one other time via Zoom with the individual who's been working on this. So Jason, you can kind of take the lead from that and
Yeah, I have it
visit
all
with him
on my email.
on his email and computer.
From Saber?
Yeah. Okay? Great, good. All right, next on the agenda is the approval or denial of unpaid leave of absence. So all of you should have a copy of, I included, from the employee handbook. Here you go. Okay, so if you go down to unpaid leave of absence, and I've been working with Bob on this as well, and he's been helping us take direction on this. It says, an employee may request an unpaid leave of absence. Such request must be made in writing and must include the following. So we have been notified in writing. Reasons for requesting, and we have been given a reason for the leave of absence. The date the leave of absence would commence, and we have that. And then a date of return to work. So we do have a potential, and it appears to be 4 weeks out from the last time of return to work. So that would put us approximately at December, not approximately, would put us at December 19th. That was the number that we came up with. So an unpaid leave of absence may be granted at the discretion of the city council. Please keep in mind the last time that we did not vote on it was because we didn't know how much paid leave was left. And so we were just trying to calculate that to make sure that it was all fair, and that the individual got the appropriate time off that they needed. It may be granted at the discretion of the city council, and then it also just goes on to say an employee failing to return to work at the expiration of the unpaid leave of absence would be considered to resign. Unpaid leaves of absence may be extended by the city council based on written requests for an extension by the employee. And then it just talks about not accruing vacation and sick leave, and then also the other part of that would be then the employee would be responsible for paying for their health insurance at that time. So that's the information that you needed to have in order to make a decision on this at this point. So there would certainly be no reason not to grant it at this point. So, but just wanted to make sure that we had all the information in front of us.
Mayor?
Yes.
Right, if I can just add what is probably obvious to the council, this language from your personnel policies, I think it's pretty clearly trying to balance a couple of interests here, right? It's trying to balance the city's desire to have flexibility to be fair to its employees and to grant employees leaves when they really need them on the one hand, and it's trying to balance that with the need to know whether you're going to have that employee back and when you're going to have that employee back. And so that's a tough balance, right? I understand that the city has allowed this to continue past the paid leave period already, and maybe there's a desire by the council to grant more leave to try to be fair and to try and be helpful. You do have to balance that against the city's need to have a clerk in this case. And I guess I would just point out, Mayor, you mentioned that you and I have talked about this a number of times, and that we've been trying to work through the right way to handle this. And I would just point out, in a city like yours with a very small staff, in a lot of respects, having a clerk and knowing when you're going to have your clerk back is maybe the most important position where you have to know that, right? I mean, clerk is kind of the center of the wheel in your city in a lot of ways. So I just want to recognize that this language is attempting to balance that. And it's not an easy balance to strike, but that's the balance we're trying to strike here, is having flexibility to be fair to employees, but also if the city has a need, especially a need in this case with clerk, to know a person's coming back and when. And so that's what this language reflects.
Does anybody have any other questions for Bob?
So is there a maximum time? Is it 6 weeks? Maximum unpaid according to this?
Can you address that? Did you hear the question?
I did, yeah, and Mayor and Council, no, there isn't. Any employer, but a city in particular, can grant employees longer unpaid leave than they're otherwise entitled to get by law. I mean, an employer can always say to an employee, you can have as much time as you want, come back whenever you want. Most employers are not in a position to do that. For obvious reasons, but in theory, an employer can do that. An employer can say you can have as much time as you want, you can leave indefinitely and come back whenever you want, and that's legally permissible. It's just not practical, and I guess I would suggest to you that from what I've seen just in the time since late October when this started, I think that would be very difficult for your city to go down that path where you just don't know if or when your clerk is coming back. I don't know how that would be feasible for your city. So, I guess what I'm saying is, if you want to strike this balance, if you want to grant more unpaid leave, and I don't know if you do, I don't know where 3 or more of you are on that issue, but if you do want to do that, I think you have to set a deadline or a time when the employee has to come back or be deemed to have decided to resign, simply because it's not feasible to go on this way. I mean, it's been a challenge already. I'm sure council is aware of that. It's been a fair amount of a challenge already, and I don't think that's going to get easier. I think it's going to get harder. But no, there is no automatic 6 week and then you're out or other rule like that.
My question is, and you covered even more, and I appreciate that, but my question is the minimum 6 weeks? Or is the minimum any amount of time? Is it just we have 6 weeks on here, and once that 6 weeks is done, then you need to submit in writing to an extension? I mean, could we have, is the state, I guess is the state rule 6 weeks? Is that like the
the
average?
law you're referring to is actually a federal law. It's the FMLA,
Okay.
which requires certain employers to grant their employees a certain amount of leave, and that's mandated by law. You are actually not subject to that because you don't have the requisite number of employees. The requisite number of employees within a 75-mile radius. We don't need to get into the details of what the law reads, but you have to have a certain number of employees within a certain radius area in order to be subject to that. And so you're not subject to that, but of course you have a policy about giving leave to your employees, paid leave. And it's, I don't want to try and characterize it as generous or not generous, but it includes giving sick leave, personal time, and vacation leave, all of the kinds of leave that an employee could get. And that's just been used up in this case, and that arrangement that you have in your personnel policies is perfectly legal.
Okay.
So you've given the amount of leave on your policies that you have to give. This is now discretionary. This is entirely up to council to decide whether you want to grant more unpaid leave and set a deadline for returning.
I appreciate it. I just was curious if that 6 weeks was a minimum required by law or something, but you answered it that no, it is not for the size of our town.
Not in this case.
Okay.
Not for you.
All right, thank you.
Other questions?
I think it's helpful to have a finite date. Yeah,
Well, we're gonna have to. get
which
somebody-
we did, we had it before, but then it was extended, but,
Right.
um,
And so, when I looked at the date, just to verify and make sure, so when we're looking at the 21st, so 1, 2, then it would be 3, 4. So that would put December 19th. That's a Tuesday. So that's 4 weeks out from what she stated on the request.
I just don't think we can go on as a city anymore without some action one way or the other. You know,
Yeah, we definitely have to get that position filled. There's, I mean, this is what it is, so.
Right. So we will need, an official motion.
No motion.
So what we would need then is to grant the unpaid leave of absence with a return date of December 19th.
I'll
That
second.
would put that out 4 weeks. Would that be correct, Bob? That's, okay.
Yeah, that's fair, that's correct, and I mean, the other piece that you already read, it's in the policy, but, to the extent that deadline is accepted or is set by the council and then isn't met, that the policy says that constitutes a resignation from the position. You would need to confirm that, of course, after the fact that occurs. And then the other thing is, you did read the language about, the health insurance, I take it, that's, the council wants to stick to its policy on that, and that would be part of the motion.
yes.
I'll second that. I mean, excuse me, I'll second that.
Okay,
And Mayor, just one other thing, just to make, I know council is aware of this, but just to say it out loud for everyone. You, Mayor, along with another council member, worked to go through records to determine how much of the paid leave had been used up, and that your calculation has been accepted by the employee. So that's not, there's agreement between the city and the employee about the fact that the paid leave was used up some days ago. And so just to be clear about that, that's why we're talking about unpaid leave.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
okay, so Joe, you second the
Yeah.
motion. Who made the first?
I did.
Okay, Chris.
Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Okay, other, in your packet, you'll notice a special assessment. It's way at the end. It looks like this. We need to vote on this. We were, the clerk had already brought this up to our attention, but this is the final numbers that Kyle had printed out. And, this is just the special assessment that then will go against property taxes. So we need a motion to accept the special assessment.
Is this water, gas?
This is water.
Okay.
That's water.
We already voted on that, but we did not.
No, it was just brought to our attention that it would be coming up.
Oh, okay, sure.
I lost my, I lost everything.
So,
I'll make a motion to approve this.
okay. I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. The next item would be a special meeting. So we had already talked about and approved to hire a part-time temporary employee to come in. So we do have somebody very temporary who's been coming in and graciously helping us with paying the bills. But we need to really move forward on getting another person in there. So we need to open up for applications, but what we would like to do is for that part-time temporary is have a meeting either on Monday night or Wednesday night. Because we need to hash out all of the details and the job description and what we want, what we're exactly looking for. So I just need you to kind of look at your calendars, and I just need to know because we'll have to post that 3 days in advance for that special meeting.
I'm good with either date.
Okay, Chris, I know your days are kind of full.
I'm off Tuesday, Wednesday, so I know
Wednesday a better day then?
either one will work. Because I'm assuming it's going to be in the evening.
Yeah.
So either.
So should we go with December 6th? That'll give me enough time to get it posted too,
Okay.
since it's a special meeting. Okay.
6 o'clock.
Yeah, that gives you enough time.
Yep.
Unless we wanted to come earlier, we could do 5 or 5:30.
This December 6th was on the Monday?
It's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
Anything? Jason, how's that work with your schedule?
I can make it work, that'll be fine.
At 5 o'clock? Should we try 5?
5?
Let's do
Okay.
5. Okay. Okay. Good. All right. Any public comment? Oh, okay. All right. Mr. Bowles, do you have anything to add or subtract? We're gonna pay the bills now, so we could, if you wanted to sign off on this exciting time here.
Mayor, I'm very appreciative of the ability to subtract things if I want to.
Okay, perfect.
All right, I'll hop on, thank you all.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be in touch.
Bye.
Okay, so, bills.
I don't know. We're running. Skeletal.
Yeah.
Okay, any,
Did we have, I was just asking Patrice, we have the disbursement register for the stuff going out. Do we have something coming in?
yeah, Kyle, well, I'm sure we do,
Okay,
but, Kyle did not print that.
okay.
So we'll make sure that we have that for the December 13th meeting, yeah, so we'll get that.
I guess my question on page 2, paying our attorney, and then you go to page 4. Let's see. Okay, it said September 2, 2023 on both times.
Oh,
And that's what I was wondering about.
you know, when I saw both of those invoices, and I think one has to do with
The
lot,
senior living, wasn't it? Yeah.
well, and it could be with those lot closings.
Oh,
It could be, you know,
Okay,
because there's
okay.
two different entities
Yeah.
and how they're
Yeah.
billed.
Okay,
I think we need
that's
Okay.
what it is.
to look at that, and
Yeah.
if we could get those
That
on the
probably-
ledger so we knew exactly,
which,
you know, coded them for
for
what
what
they were
they're,
applied to,
Yeah.
that would be helpful.
Cause the one
Yep.
does say the senior living on it,
Yep,
yeah, the bigger one, you know, and I'll bet the other one is on the lots then, you know.
okay. Any-
So are we still paying for the camera?
Mm-hmm.
I see that.
Mhm.
Did we ever figure out if anybody has access to that? Like,
Chris?
Yes, I believe Jill had provided it to the sheriff's department.
Oh, she did.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but that's my understanding.
So they're able to,
She said that.
but it's no longer going to the former chief's cell phone or however, they can't log into that anymore?
No.
Okay.
Chris has been making sure that all of those things have been updated, so, yeah, as long as the sheriff's department is getting that, that's awesome.
Good job.
Yeah.
I wonder about that, call it radar feedback sign. Wonder if it makes a difference for people to slow down.
Well, it still isn't up yet.
No, it's up.
No, it's up.
It's
Yeah,
up.
it's been up for a
Number
while.
9.
It's
I
on
didn't
number
see
nine.
it all.
That flashing one.
You're going
I think
too
it-
You're going too
Oh, yeah, I have
fast.
seen that, yeah. No, I'm going so slow that it just tells me my speed. Oh,
Yeah,
but
right.
As far as the billing, yeah.
Does it take your picture?
No, but you can set it
I
to a difference between, whatever speed you
5
want it to
or
flash.
whatever.
So if you're going too slow, it might not flash.
Right, yep.
I don't know what it's set at. It's always flashing for me.
It throws a flag. It throws a
It
flag up that says pokey.
Right, yeah.
Keep in mind, we're still.
No, I use it to, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that, no, that has.
So we did get that broom, Jason?
We got it. Yep.
Okay. Do we have an update on the other piece?
It's coming tomorrow.
Is it?
Yep.
Good. So do you have that invoice ready
It's laying there for her.
for, for Julie to do?
Yep.
So, we are staying ahead of the bills and the invoices now, which is wonderful.
Well, there was one that came in today from Excel that we're behind
Okay, we'll
Yeah.
get that taken care of right away.
Yeah. for a couple $100. I don't know.
We don't want lights going out in the city.
I think it was for a street light repair.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Is that the one by the school?
See, there's been a bunch.
Do we have any LED lights in town that were affected by that? They're purple. So any LED lights in town that are shining down that almost look purple?
But no, I don't think so.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
It was some sort of
Study?
recall
Right.
on some stuff that, okay.
No, we don't, that I know
I know that was a big thing reading on the news.
Are there more loads being taken out of the sewer plant now? I mean,
Well,
I
I
see
usually-
some like 3.
of. I usually do 2 a month.
Yeah, okay.
But then, if you're looking at the billing, there was a discrepancy of 4, and that was because somewhere there was a miscommunication in the billing, and the 2 load for September didn't get paid. So there's 4 for October, and then there's 1 for Equal Sense Septic. That was because it was plugged up, and we had to have him come and unplug one of the secondary primaries. So, and we did some maintenance to the chains, we had to get it cleaned out. So that's why you have that other one in there.
Are there typically more loads in the winter,
No,
or are they just average out?
we usually try to do less in the winter because of the conditions.
Yeah.
And usually, but lately it's been on average of 2. If you don't take 2, you get bad samples.
Okay,
That's good.
all right. Can I get a motion to approve the bills?
So move.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Good, thank you. Excellent.